Call the meeting to order, 3:46 approximately PM, November 6th, 2019. Can I get a motion on the minutes?
So moved.
Any discussion? All set? Vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Minutes approved. Do we have any open items?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So,
Well, they're on the agenda.
Yeah, just the
Yeah.
architect.
yeah, let's, go into the review of the, trust and revolving funds.
Okay.
Looks like really nothing's changed since our last meeting, as far as I can tell.
I have to open it up.
The, special education expendable trust fund has a balance of $238,634.07. The capital improvement and maintenance capital reserve fund has a balance of $146,405.67. And the facilities use revolving fund has a balance of $210,872.71.
What was the building rental for, 2,900? Do more of those.
Yeah, we've been having some, larger, functions go into, like the auditorium and use the cafeteria. I can't say exactly what it is, I'd have to open it up and look into it, okay? But we have a couple of them coming up. Now, just so that you know, the reason why the balance is so high in there is because, the charter fund, when they were renting the facility over at the seminary property, the rental would go into this particular fund and pay for technology here in the school district, okay? So, however, I have been seeing rental revenue on decline over the last couple of years, and I think it's kind of flattened out a little bit. But let me dig into this, the 2,900.
Yeah, as I recall, this is the biggest one I've seen in
Yes.
a while,
Yeah, exactly.
if not ever, since I've been on board.
Yeah.
We have a facilities manager now, for the auditorium.
That's correct.
We should probably be trying to utilize that more, bring in some revenues there.
It's my understanding that this particular person, their whole responsibility is just to review what's there and make sure that it's operational, not necessarily try to generate revenues for it.
I think that's a responsibility that has been narrowed from what it was, the original proposal.
Mm-hmm.
The original proposal included that they would try to generate revenues from that. Once they were up to speed with the, the actual physical part of it.
That was the impression I got too.
Yeah,
We don't have a manager whose sole job is to manage the auditorium.
it's a part-time, yes,
It's a stipend position.
Wow.
but
No.
it's not a small amount of money.
No. What I want to do is, I want the buildings to start focusing more on developing programs. So we can develop all this stuff internally as opposed to relying on, organizations outside the district. And let me kind of give you my experience about trying to rely on something outside of the district. We were asked to host a statewide facilities conference here. And it would bring in some vendors, it would bring in all the facilities, school facilities people throughout the state. Their only drawback was there were no hotels in the near vicinity. And also they struggled with trying to find a large enough banquet facility. And I was trying to have them use our school cafeteria as a banquet facility at the same time. They initially were gonna do it this year, but they backed out. But we're on target for next year.
Okay.
And unfortunately, there was no revenue for us on this. However, we're gonna get about $4,500 worth of, training for our own facilities people, because all of our facilities people will be allowed to attend.
What kind of costs will we incur?
None, other than heating and lighting for the building, and it's gonna occur during the vacation.
I see. What about, the athletic facilities, the fields, that sort of thing, track?
We haven't been getting many paid, customers for those. Most of those are just local nonprofits. And a lot of those little nonprofits are kind of, in my opinion, it looks like that they're filling a void that we're not offering. So one of the things that we've done over, especially over at Memorial, there's a group in Newton that wanted to use the facility for an adult volleyball session. And they wanted to set up a nonprofit for that, and I just said, no, we'll just charge you $5 a head, or I think it's like $2.50 a person, and we've been starting to see revenue come in as a result of that. So what I want to try to do is get into more of a into a per person paid for some of these facilities at night, so that we're not having to have idle facilities, so to speak.
Good.
You know, like basketball night, men's basketball night, women's basketball night, why not just charge $5 a head,
Yeah.
have anyone show up, and then a game can start from there.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. I think, yeah. Cause that way then you're not looking at it from a taxpayer's point, the whole town's not paying for a few.
Yes.
And that's what I was looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
If, in the event that we are able to lease out the middle school, in the event that that finally closes, would those revenues go into this fund? Or would that be something different?
those revenues would go into those funds,
Okay.
into this fund, okay? Unless the school board decides to put forward a warrant article redirecting funds elsewhere.
It was to a different setup or something.
And which one does it go into, the expendable trust or the capital improvement maintenance?
The facilities revolving. The
Okay, yeah.
expendable trust fund can only be funded through tax warrant, through town meeting warrant,
Okay.
okay?
I do have a question on we mentioned that somebody's on stipend to manage that auditorium.
Yep.
I'd like to know what that is, what that stipend is. and what
I
the
believe it's
responsibility is.
$4,500.
And that's annually?
Yes.
So what do they actually do?
I don't know what their specific job duty is, but it's my understanding that they would go in every day and make sure that the seats aren't ripped, the lights all work, the stage lights all work, the audio-visual equipment works, that they're also looking at making sure that like upgrading the equipment is identified for that particular year.
Do they actually do this every day?
I can't tell you, because I have
No,
not.
that's the question I'd be asking.
Well, why would it be every day? Why wouldn't it be,
Well, it gets used every day.
Oh, it does?
It does.
Oh,
I
okay.
just, my confusion is, I thought that fall under their own maintenance activity, I don't know.
Kind of
whether
thought
it's
so
separate
too, that's,
Facility person.
Prior to this, I think the principal was doing it.
That's correct.
that's,
I guess I'm
understand.
just not understanding why that doesn't fall, why one small sub-segment of the campus would be excluded from the facility organization when they own every other bit of it. Just doesn't make sense to me.
I agree with you. That doesn't make sense. That's something I think that we should bring up and discuss with the board. What do you think?
I think Tom can answer it probably better than I can. This is,
Well, that's why I think they should bring it up to the board and let him answer it.
Yeah.
Point blank, then we've got an answer that's straight.
Okay.
I think tonight is gonna be a difficult night.
Sure.
Well, we don't need to bring it up today, we can bring it up when things slow down a little bit. Cause I agree with Jamie on this, that just doesn't add up.
Anything else on that? Okay, thank you.
Durham used it says Durham School, facility use on August 15 and 16, $2,900. That's all I have that's in that particular description. So it sounds like we rented out a facility for another school to use. Well, we just recently had to go and pay Timberlane to have our football game. Cause our field was too wet.
I'm not going. I do have to say this though. When I played football, it didn't make any difference whether it was raining, wet, mud, or snowing. You went out and played. If you got dirty, well, that's football.
Agreed.
There's a
However,
concern about ruining the field though, right?
there's
Yeah.
concern about ruining the field. We've actually sat down and walked the field recently with some engineers to go over drainage issues. And I have to follow up on that and kind of try to come up with a solution for why the closest corner of the field goes underwater in the spring.
It's kind of sitting in a swamp. isn't
Who was
it?
the original engineer for this facility?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Who were the architects that did this facility?
Yes, LaValle Brenzinger.
Yeah, there'd be another strike against them.
Then looking at the map, I noticed that the surface of the field is at the high water table. So my gut tells me that to get rid of some of these problems the only way to do it is to raise the field,
And how much
raise the
exactly?
height of the field.
And that's probably a small fortune, right? Because you have to
Oh,
put in some kind of retaining wall and,
I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
That's why I wanna hire an engineer that specializes in drainage for, playing fields and have them come up with different costs and different proposals.
How much did it cost us to rent Timberlane?
I don't believe it was that much. My guess is it's gonna be less than $200.
Oh.
But I honestly have not heard what the actual dollar is.
We
I
could
was
probably
told-
schedule a new home field for a lot cheaper. A lot cheaper to deal with redoing this one.
Yeah,
It would
Well,
be,
I do know last spring, I went out with a bunch of kids and we went and shot rockets off out there. And I kid you not, one of those rockets came down and buried itself about 8 inches in the soil.
because it was so soft.
Oh, you couldn't walk on it.
Is this a seasonal problem or is it?
it is,
Yeah,
And just for the football season.
yeah.
and a lot of the springtime.
Yeah,
No,
and the
this
field
is-
hockey season.
I personally think that the future is gonna be over at Chase Field. Because it's my understanding that the topsoil on that is excellent and that it's drained properly. And all we have to do is regrade it and because the facility over there is tens of years old, maybe 40, 50, 60 years old. And it just needs to be resurfaced, re-leveled. And then maybe we could have our football games over there as a.
Trying to
place of-
change the water table and the drainage is gonna be massively expensive, is my fear.
Agreed. And I think regrading is gonna be significantly cheaper. But that's my preliminary assessment. Don't read into, that's like 6 years away.
Mhm.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Okay. Number 5, architectural services. Where are we with the architectural services?
Okay, I asked, 2 specific questions. The first one is a cost per their fee cost, per project cost, and also, what kind of experience they have in security. And, a lot of the firms, I've read them, I think, in my impression, that a lot of the firms, this is a new topic for them, for the security. So I don't think that is, any answers there will result in any good responses. However, I have all the fee analysis here. I can't pick it up. And what I gleaned out of this is, I got 3 good responses back. LaValle Brenzinger, their fee is about 7.65% of construction costs.
But their construction costs are typically quite high.
The big projects.
Yeah.
SDA, which is the firm from northern New Hampshire, is 5.8%. They only gave one example. And CMK is at 7%. I do have to say that for LaValle Brenzinger, and some of the committee members, one liked, one disliked. For SDA, one liked, the other one was a maybe. And then for CMK, it was a maybe and a yes. It's so I think it's, personally, from looking at this, it's down to SDA and CMK, where CMK is it seems like they're more expensive per project. However, I think they scored higher in the quality of their presentation. And I do have to say that their response that they gave me is significantly better than the rest.
Which one is that?
CMK.
CMK was on my short list. LaValle I would not even pursue, they were on my do not pursue list. SDA was on my qualified fallback list.
I like CMK, except for the fact that their response on the RFQ was regarding the organizational approach was mostly boilerplate. And it included what seemed to me a misunderstanding of what we were asking for, because they talked about an extensive facility study of the high school and its buildings. So they'd have to be redirected as to what we actually need.
They also was boilerplate because they referred to the Sunapee School District in their proposal.
Yeah. So their attention to detail was,
CMK.
CMK,
I haven't read any of their proposals, because I don't want to be, I'm gonna work with whoever that you guys choose.
And one of my concerns, one of my items when I had assessed this was Port 1. I noted that I would not pursue Port 1. But I see from the manifest that we've already spent $15,000 with Port 1. What's going on with that?
Port 1 came with the engineer that is doing the office space over here. So it was, I needed an architect just for that particular job. And that's just a one-time, there'll be one more invoice beyond this one, okay, but it's a one-time transaction with us.
But how did we choose Port 1?
They came with the vendor.
So in other words, it was the vendor's architect.
Correct.
Guys, on this one here, I sat there and deferred to you guys. I did not know any of these architects. I've done nothing with them or really had no experience at all. And so that's why I did not answer anything.
I said that my top 2 were Cowan and Goodrow and SDA, but I thought their locations might have been.
Callan was one of my top picks.
Which one, Cowan?
Callan,
Yeah.
one of my picks to pursue.
I don't know if you had talked to them about their locations and you didn't think that would be an issue, their distance from us?
You know, SDA came down and actually hand delivered theirs.
Yeah.
Cowan did give us they gave us all their amounts in hourly rates,
Okay,
okay, but they didn't give an amount for,
project.
by project, okay? So here's the hourly rates.
And one of the things that they, it's 30-year, 2 principals and 4 people, a simple work structure. But that's, when they're taking you on as a big part of what they're doing that year because they've got a limited staff.
Yeah, both of you had high numbers for, Cal and Goudreau.
So CMK was a maybe for you?
No, CMK was on my,
Oh, it was on
one of my picks to pursue, and SDA was a qualified fallback in my mind.
Okay,
That was one that had some concerns geographically that Matt said that they were coming down, that they didn't seem to be concerned with it at all.
how about if we go back to CMK, Cowan Goodrow, and SDA, tell them they're on our short list, but we need more financial information.
Okay,
That works for me.
those three,
That works.
okay.
Okay. And, you know, like this rate sheet is good, but we want some project examples too. But we like rate sheets for the other two. Because when you get into making changes and that sort of thing, we don't wanna get hit with some off-the-wall charge.
And how far away are they?
Matt, was that an hour now?
SDA is up by me.
Yeah,
So they charge it for the time of the car.
I think they're gonna do most of it electronically, because, quite frankly, Port One wasn't here much. They were here, maybe 3 times. And most of the stuff is being, all the plans are being moved around electronically now.
is there gonna be a general contractor, like a project manager, or how, is it you the project manager?
Yeah, I'm gonna be the project manager.
Do you have your own hard hat and tool, or clipboard?
Yeah, I can get a clipboard.
All right.
I can go to Home Depot and get a hard hat.
I
Yeah.
got one if you want to borrow.
Yeah.
White one.
No.
Would you prefer gold?
Yeah.
All right, anything else on the agenda? There's no public comment. Anything else at all? Okay, motion to adjourn.
So,
Oh, Jamie's working.
Just a minute.
He's doing it.
Can we stop it?
No,
Not yet.
not yet.
Fun notes. A lot of notes. About everything.
Is this your only copy of this?
Take it.
Oh. We need two,
You want two?
When was the last meeting? September?
unless you're gonna put it together and email it to us.
I'm gonna put it together and email it to you.
Okay.
The mesh camera discussion, that's off the table, you're taking down the tree, right?
Tree's gone. Mesh cameras, that issue's ended.
That was a good solution.
Yes.
Well,
Where do we stand on, one of the things that I had in my notes was a company called Chinberg, had asked about the seminary property. Do we know what's going on there? No? That's all I got.
Motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?